Hello and namaste to all participants joined online to learn about social defense issues for all social defense functionaries and stakeholders. And the topic for today is counseling in social defense. Definitions, objective, goals, stages, types, areas of counseling, characteristics of counselor, assessment technique in counseling, and counseling in the field of old age, drug abuse, beggary and transgender. This is a concept that was developed by National Institute of Social Defense, Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment. Before understanding the above topic, we need to understand some basic knowledge. So, let us start with definition of counseling. Counseling is a process by means by which a helper expresses care and concern towards the person with a problem and facilitates the person's personal growth and brings about the change through self knowledge. The definition also includes these additional attributes. Counseling deals with the drug users and others issues like wellness, personal growth, career and pathological concerns. In other words, counselor work in areas that involve relationships. These areas include intra and interpersonal concerns related to finding meaning and adjustment in such settings as schools, families and careers. Counseling is conducted with persons who are considered to be functioning well and those who are having more serious problems. Counseling meets the need of wide spectrum people. Counseling is a theory based. Counselors draw from number of theoretical approaches including those that are cognitive, affective, behavioral and systemic. These theories may be applied to individual, groups and families. Counseling is a process that may be developmental or intervening. Counselors focus on their clients' goals. Thus, counseling involves both choice and change. In some cases, counseling is a rehearsal for action. Now, let us know about the objective or goals of the counseling. Some of the different goals are adopted either explicitly or implicitly by counselor which are listed. Now, insight is the acquisition of an understanding of the origins and development of emotional difficulties leading to an increased capacity to take rational control over feelings and actions. Relating with others, number 2, that is becoming better able to perform and maintain meaningful and satisfying relationship with other people, for example, within the family or workplace. Self awareness, becoming more aware of thoughts and feelings that had been blocked off or denied, or developing a more accurate sense of how self is perceived by others. Self acceptance, that is the development of positive attitude towards self, marked by an ability to acknowledge areas of experience that had been the subject of self criticism and rejection. Self actualization or individuation, moving in the direction of fulfilling potential or achieving an integration of previously conflicting parts of self. Enlightenment, it is assisting the client to arrive at a higher state of spiritual awakening. Problem solving, what it means? Finding a solution to a specific problem that the client had not been able to resolve alone, acquiring a general competence in problem solving. Psychological education, what it is? It is enabling the client to acquire ideas and techniques with which to understand and control behavior. Acquisition of social skill, what it is? Learning and mastering social and interpersonal skill such as maintenance of eye contact, turn taking in conversation, assertiveness or anger control. Cognitive change, it is the modification or replacement of irrational beliefs or maladaptive thought pattern associated with the self destructive behavior. Behavior change, what it is? The modification or replacement of maladaptive or self destructive pattern of behavior. Systemic change, introducing the change into the way in that social system, for example, families operate. Empowerment, working on skills, awareness and knowledge that will enable the client to take control of his or her own life. Restitution, helping the client to make amends for previous destructive behavior. Generativity and social action, inspiring in the person a desire and capacity to care for others and pass on the knowledge, that is generativity, and to contribute to collective good through political engagement and community work. The next topic for discussion is on stages of counseling. Cormier and Hackney in 1987 described a 5-stage process. Now, what are these 5 stages? One is relationship building, assessment, goal setting, interventions, termination and follow up. Each of these stages are discussed below, which are in detail. Stage 1, we will discuss about that. Stage 1, as what we said, relationship building. The successful outcome in counseling are associated with counselor-client relationship, which is the outcome of all therapeutic efforts. There are 2 necessary conditions. They are counselor offered conditions. The core conditions are successful counseling are empathic understanding. Empathic understanding is a process that involves communicating a sense of caring and understanding. Unconditional positive regard, which is counselor communicating to client that they are of value and worth as individuals. Congruence, behaving in a manner consistent with how one thinks and feel. Respect, focuses on positive attributes of the client. Immediacy, that is the direct mutual communication. Confrontation, which is pointing out discrepancy in what the client is saying or doing. Concreteness, that is helping clients discuss themselves in a specific terms. Self-disclosure, what it is? Making the self known to others. So, these are 8 core conditions which are necessary and sufficient for constructive personally change to occur. Counselor and client offered conditions, and the working alliance is another concept that can be used to describe the counseling relationship. These 8 core conditions are necessary and sufficient for constructive personality change to occur. Counselor and client offered conditions, that is the working alliance, is another concept that can be used to describe the counseling relationship. It goes beyond focusing on counselor offered conditions and include counselor and client offered conditions. The working alliance is composed of 3 parts. They are agreement between the counselor and the client in terms of goals of counseling, agreement between the counselor and client in terms of task of counseling, emotional bond between the counselor and client. The strength of working alliance depends on the degree of agreement relating to goals and tasks of counseling and the level of emotional attachment between the counselor and the client. Stage 2, assessment and diagnosis. Assessment and diagnosis help a counselor develop an in-depth understanding of a client and identify mental disorders that require attention. This understanding can facilitate goal setting and also suggest types of intervention strategies. Assessment procedure can be divided into 2 categories. One is standardized measure, includes psychological tests that are standardized norm groups. Non-standardized measures, that is include strategies such as the clinical interview and the assessment of life history. Stage 3, formulation of counseling goals. 3 functions that goals serve in the counseling process are motivation function. The client are involved in establishing the counseling goals. They may be more motivated when they have specific concrete goals to work toward. It is also important for counselor to encourage clients to make a verbal commitment to work on a specific counseling goal. Education function. Clients can learn new skills and behavior that they can use to enhance their functioning. For example, a counseling goal might be to become more assertive. During assertiveness training, a client can learn skills to enhance their functioning in interpersonal situations. Evaluating function. Clear goals allow the counselor and the client an opportunity to evaluate progress. Counseling goals may also be conceptualized as either process or outcome. Process goals, these establish the condition necessary to make the counseling process work. These goals relate to the issues of formulating positive relationship by promoting the core conditions. Process goals are primarily the counselor responsibility. Outcome goals. These specify that client hopes to accomplish in counseling. The counselor and the client would agree on these goals and modify them as necessary. 5 types of outcome goals include facilitating behavior change, enhancing coping skills, promoting decision making, improving relationship, facilitating the client's potential. Stage 4, intervention and problem solving. The counselor and the client may choose strategies to implement from variety of interventions, including individual, group, couples and family counseling. It may be best to begin with individual counseling for a client with a problem of an intrapersonal nature. The couples or family counseling may be more appropriate for clients with difficult of an interpersonal nature, as in marital or parent-child conflict. The counselor should provide an overview of the different treatment approaches available. Describe the role of counselor and client for each procedure. Identify possible risk and benefit that may result and estimate the time and cost of each procedure. In addition, it is important for the counselor to be sensitive to client's characteristics such as value and beliefs when selecting an intervention strategy. The counselor should also be aware of a client's personal strengths and weaknesses in selecting a counselor approach. The 6-stage model for problem solving strategy include problem detection, problem definition, identification of alternative solutions, decision making, execution, verification. Stage 5, the termination and follow up. The termination can be done when clients have worked through their concerns and are able to proceed forward in their lives without counselor's assistance. At this point, counseling can be terminated. It is usually best for counselor and client to agree on a termination date, reducing the chance of premature termination or feelings of ambivalence. Termination should be planned several weeks in advance to provide an opportunity for client to prepare psychologically. The counselor should also arrange for appropriate follow-up with the client. An appointment for formal follow-up counseling session can be made 2 to 4 weeks after the final session. This can allow the counselor and the client adequate time to evaluate how things are going without counseling. Client should be reassured that they will be able to obtain additional counseling services if need arises. They should also be informed as to how they can request these services in the future. Let us discuss the next topic of this session, which is on types of counseling. Direct counseling, that is prescriptive counseling. E.G. Williamson's in the chief exponent in this viewpoint. The counselor directs the client to take steps in order to resolve his conflicts. It is based on assumption that the client cannot solve his own problems for lack of information. The counselor plays an important role. He tries to direct the thinking of counselee by informing, explaining, interpreting and advising. It gives more importance to intellectual aspect than emotional aspect. Williamson has given 6 steps of directive counseling: analysis, synthesis, diagnosis, prognosis, counseling and follow-up. Non-directive counseling, that is permissive counseling. Carl R. Roger is a chief exponent in this viewpoint. This school of thought is just reverse to that of directive counseling. It is a client-centered process. In this, the counseling is the pivot of the counseling process. The main function of the counselor is to create an atmosphere in which the client can work out his problem. In this type of counseling, emotional element rather than intellectual elements are stressed. Carl Rogers has given the following steps of his non-directive counseling. Defining the, number 1 is defining the problematic situation, that is first of all counselor should define the problematic situation. Number 2 is free expression of feeling. After the first step, the client is made aware of the fact that he can express his feelings freely and the counselor approves this. Number 3 is development of insight. The counselor goes on thinking regarding the client's new feelings along with the development of client's insight, and he goes on classifying all those new feelings. Number 4 is classification of positive and negative feeling. After the free expression of feelings by the client, counselor identifies his negative and positive feelings and he classifies them. Number 5 is termination of counseling situation. The counselor looks for the points where he can terminate the counseling situation after all the above steps. According to this school of thought, either the client or the counselor can suggest for some such termination of the counseling situation. Eclectic counseling. The chief advocate of this type of counseling is Thorne. Eclectic counseling is a type of counseling which is neither counselor centered nor client centered, but a combination of both. Here the counselor is neither too active as in directive counseling nor too passive as in non-directive counseling, but follows a middle course. Some of the characteristics of eclectic counseling are: methods of counseling may change from a client to client or even with the same client from time to time. It is highly flexible. Freedom of choice and expression is open to both the counselor and the counselee. Experience of mutual confidence and faith in the relationship are basic. The client and the philosophical framework are adjusted to save the purpose of the relationship. Well, the next topic for discussion is the areas of counseling, like substance use counseling. Substance abuse counselor provides a necessary support system for individuals recovering from drug and alcohol, other behavioral issues. Substance abuse counseling, also called addiction counseling, addresses the symptoms of drug addiction and related areas of impaired functioning, and the content, the structure of the client's ongoing recovery program. By forming a relationship built on trust with their patients, counselor provides the support, sources and judgment-free guidance that patient can utilize for addiction-free life. Then, mental health counseling. Mental illness have become very common these days. Awareness has helped people identify the symptom of it and visit mental health counselors. Mental health counseling helps people deal with issues that impact their mental health and well-being. This counseling focuses on these issues and helps in resolving them for a healthier life. Then third, that is educational counseling. A student who is fresh out of school or college is often clueless as to which career to choose. Furthermore, sometimes even working individuals feel like that in the midst of their careers. Education counseling helps these people in choosing their career path. They conduct seminars and orientation or private session where they discuss their interest of their client and offer solutions accordingly. Then individual or personal or social counseling. Individual counseling is personal, one-to-one counseling space for a person to interact with the counselor to explore and address personal concerns. It is a partnership where a counselor works with the client to help the client in their journey to understand themselves better and cope with whatever challenges they are going through. The social counseling helps the individual solutions together with the student to issues such as covering the cost of living, pregnancy and childcare, as well as life planning in general. It provides extensive information and advice about all degree related help on offer. Vocational counseling. Vocational counseling, also known as vocational rehabilitation, is a set of services designed to develop the skills and abilities of a person to a point they can perform a specific vocation in a productive way. Counseling may be done in-house by the counselor, provided by an employer, or be outsourced to companies who specialization in vocational aspect of employment. Child counseling. Child counseling is a type of therapy that focuses on young children, teens and adolescents with one or more mental illness. It also provides aid to youths who have experienced trauma and who are experiencing a dysfunctional or stressful home environment. Some of these common issues include anxiety, depression and grief. The goal of counseling, however, is to break down problem into manageable part so children can better understand and cope with them. Community counseling. Community counseling takes the service outside of the hospital and puts it directly into the community, and that's where this particular type of counseling gets its name. Instead of visiting a hospital, patients can generally visit their counselor at a smaller private practice. Marriage and family counseling. People often face a lot of problems in their marriage and family life. Sometimes these troubled people find it hard to cope up with their life. This results in constant fights with their partners or family members. Marriage and family counseling comes in here. In other words, is help people with these problems. They take them into confidence and prescribe a solution that will help them overcome their problems. Genetic counseling and rehabilitation counseling. Genetic counseling is the process of helping people understand and adapt to the medical, psychological and family implications of genetic contribution to the disease. This process integrates the interpretation of family and medical histories to assess the chance of disease occurrence or recurrence, education about inheritance, testing, management, prevention, resources and research, and counseling to promote informed choices and adaptation to the risk or condition. National Society of Genetic Counselor, that is rehabilitation counseling, refers to the practice where the counselor helps people with their emotional and physical disabilities. Furthermore, these counselors teach people ways to live independently and maintain gainful employment. The next topic for discussion is characteristic of counselor. Attitudinal skills. There is probably nothing which has a greater impact on the outcome of counseling session than the counselor's attitude. Attitude can be positive or reactive. They include respect for oneself as well for the client, expressed by praising the client's individuality and structuring the counseling to the needs, capacity and resources of the individual. Genuineness or congruence. It is a consistency or the harmony between what the counselor says and what he or she is. This condition reflects honesty, transparency and trust. Unconditional positive regard, which makes clients feel welcomed and valued as individual. Empathy. The ability to understand what the client experiences and to communicate this kind of feeling. Carl Roger in 1980 defined it as perceiving the internal frame of reference of another person. Self-disclosure. It helps the client to communicate easily and to reveal something about him or herself, creating mutual trust and disarming the client so that he or she feels free and talks openly. Confrontation, which uses the client's behavior or words to point out inconsistency between what is said and what is done. When handling a response, confrontation or challenging attitude is a healthy development in counseling. Number 2, active counseling skills. Active listening intentionally focus on who you are listening to, whether in a group or one-to-one, in that order to understand and how he or she is saying. Sometimes how they communicate is much more revealing than what they actually say. As the listener, you should then be able to repeat back in your own words what they have said to their satisfaction. This does not mean you agree with, but rather understand what they are saying. Number 3, verbal communication skill. The use of words in the counseling is skill which, like any other skill, requires practice to master. Verbal communication takes place first in the literal or content phase. If inappropriate vocabulary is used, rapport and understanding will be hindered when this happens. Miscommunication occurs. In addition to the literal phase of verbal communication, there is also emotional phase. This refers to other attributes involved in vocal interaction such as volume, the emotional edge and other non-verbal cues such as gestures. Counselor must be sensitive to both literal and emotional phases of verbal communication. Giving leads. Leads may be defined as statement that counselor use in communication with clients. Leads have been classified into categories of techniques, namely restatement of content, attempts to convey understanding by repeating or rephrasing the communication, questioning, that is seeks further information and asks the person counseled to elaborate a point, reflection of feeling, that is understanding from client's point of view and communicating that understanding. Reassurance serves as a reward or reinforcing agent. It is often used to support the client's exploration of ideas and feeling or test different behavior. Interpretation explains meaning behind the client statement. The next topic is assessment techniques in counseling. Counselors use a variety of techniques and procedures in the process of gathering data. Some can be highly structured and designed so that each time a procedure is used, the process is exactly the same. This is called using a standardized format. A less rigorous but also important way of obtaining information is through the use of non-standardized instrument. Non-standardized techniques broadly involve observation and self-report instruments. Observation. Half of the message that a client communicates is a non-verbal. Counselors should be attuned to all of the non-verbal cues available and note the discrepancy and inconsistency between these and verbal messages. Observational instruments include checklist. The purpose of checklist is to focus the observer's attention to presence or absence of predetermined characteristic. Rating scale. A rating scale is a special kind of checklist on which observer can note not only the presence of given characteristic or attribute, but also the degree to which it manifests itself. Anecdotal reports. Anecdotal reports are subjective description of a client's behavior at a specific time or for a specific situation. Self-report instrument. They can be short enough to be filled out by client a few minutes before the first visit to the counselor and can be designed to provide a variety of data. A few self-report instruments are described below. Questionnaire. Questionnaire can be used to collect vital information to determine the counseling or consulting needs of the groups or organization. Interviews. An interview is a form of questionnaire that is read to a client by a counselor. Personal essays and autobiographies. More extensive written material such as having a client write a personal essay on a given topic is another way to gather useful data in short time and can be given as a homework assignment. A more elaborate version of the personal essay is to have the client write an autobiography. Having a client keep a journal on a regular basis and noting new issues and changes provide another method of obtaining self-report data on an ongoing basis. Well, the last topic for discussion is on counseling in the field of old age, drug abuse, beggary and transgender. Counseling in the field of old age, that is geriatric counselor provide physical and psychological assessment services for senior citizens. Along with the counseling, direct care, treatment for mental health issues and assistance with the problem interfering with the senior's quality of life. Counseling in the field of drug abuse, substance use or drug abuse counseling is a form of counseling which helps people in treating them and supporting them from breaking free from their drug and alcohol addiction. It helps people discuss the cause of this addiction and reach to the root of it. The counselor therapy thereby suggests a coping strategy which make a positive impact on their lives. Moreover, they also provide them with the practicing skill and behavior which helps in the recovery. Counseling in the field of beggary. Beggary is a serious problem in India which needs to be addressed on priority. Laws against vagrancy and beggary are a means of control over such persons who constitute a source of in nature and potential threat and annoyance to the society. However, the problem is more of a social needs to be handled accordingly. Systemic counseling for a person who are engaged in beggary would prevent beggary and eliminate practice of beggary. Counseling in the field of transgender. Transgender community is another sensitive and marginalized group and requires basic security measures such as food, clothing, shelter, education and health. Employment. Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment has initiated the development work with the view to safeguarding the rights of these people. Problems of transgender community are multidimensional and hence multi-pronged strategies required to handle this issue. Education counseling, skill development training, programs on different trades for this community would help them in employment and self-employment.